What's going on, guys? Mortgage and real estate broker Mike here again. And today I'm going to do a reaction video to a segment on CNN with the Property Brothers. It was a pretty good segment. They went into different aspects of real estate, investing in real estate, as well as this new NAR verdict that came down that everyone in the real estate industry is up in arms over. So let's jump in. I'm going to watch the video with you, stop it periodically, and give you my reaction, my opinion to what they're saying.
Speaking of the economy, a new level of pain for potential home buyers this week. Mortgage rates soaring above 7%. That is the highest since last November. And the median price of an existing home is also on the rise. All of that raising the question, is there a housing bubble that is about to burst? Well, we have two guests from another part of the parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery, to explain it all for you. Joining me now are Drew and Jonathan Scott, better known as the Property Brothers from HGTV. Their new series is called Backed by the Bros. Jonathan and Drew, thank you both for being here. First of all, I should disclose that I've spent amounts of time that I will not specify watching your show.
I think it's borderline stalker.
And yeah, my husband is sick of me, always wanting to renovate, but putting that aside.
I've actually worked with these guys before in a marketing capacity a few years back on one of their promos when they had their show on Lifetime. Was it Lifetime? HGTV, that's where it was. So really nice guys.
The housing market is such a huge part of what's going on in this economy. What is going on there? Is this some kind of bubble?
I mean, it's so hard to predict what's going on, but I think, you know, when we look at the issue right now, there's a housing crisis, there's a density issue on top of the rates, and people are looking for ways to be able to afford their house. I think that the big thing for us is trying to help homeowners figure out how they can afford to be where they want to be.
Does it make sense to you that we would see those trends at the same time that we're seeing all these factors that are actually intended to reduce spending on big ticket items?
Well, it's weird because the rates have come down a little bit, and so we've seen the rates come down and we've seen a little bit of activity, but even where they are right now, there's still potential to do well in real estate, and that our show, Backed by the Bros, that's what it's about, is people who wanted to dive in. Some of them didn't calculate, because the higher the rates go, the tighter your margins are going to be. You got to be really, really careful. You got to pad yourself a little bit. But everything's so erratic right now, because even during COVID, nobody expected that things were going to boom the way they did. Everyone thought, okay, no one's going to overspend on their home. I have never seen more renovations happen than what happened during and post-COVID.
Right.
And a part of that is due to the fact that we still don't have enough inventory, right? At the top of the segment, she talked about how home prices are continuing to skyrocket, right? The average price of a home in America now is approaching $400,000, and that's going to keep rising because we simply do not have enough homes to sell. But as far as whether or not we're heading for another bubble that's going to burst and home prices are going to come tumbling down like they did in 2006 and 2007, I don't believe that's going to happen, because there's a completely different reason for why you're seeing the type of prices that we're seeing on homes now. We don't have enough inventory, number one. And number two, what happened in 2006, 2007 was a function of greed, right? It was due to all these banks having a surplus of money and creating these exotic products that they wanted to get out there to consumers who really couldn't afford these homes that they were buying back then in 2006 and 2007. There were people buying homes in 2005, 2004 that were making, you know, $40,000, $50,000, and they're buying a $700,000 home. It just was not sustainable. But The Big Short is an excellent movie to watch if you want to understand what happened in 2006 that caused a market crash. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Send it to someone you think might find it valuable.
So the National Association of Realtors, they also have this big shift happening in how people pay for commission. Buyers and sellers, that's now being split up. They each kind of have to pay their own way. What are you anticipating that's going to have in terms of the effect on the housing market and consumer behavior?
Well, we predicted for a long time that there was going to be a correction when it comes to commissions in some way. It's one thing. Frankly, there are a lot of real estate professionals who are not that professional. There are a smaller percentage of people who are amazing, and they're worth every dollar.
He put it eloquently and succinctly. There are a lot of agents out there that are not that professional, right? And unfortunately, this is what causes a lot of the bad rep that we get in our industry. This is what causes, I mean, it's partly what caused that lawsuit, right? Because the antitrust lawsuit, and I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on this. I did another video about, what happened with this NAR ruling. I'll put a link to it up here. But essentially, a lot of these agents weren't explaining to sellers how the commission split is broken down, right? And a lot of sellers didn't realize that if they paid a 6% or 5% or 4.5%, whatever it may be, to a listing agent, part of that commission is really to pay the buyer's agent to bring them a buyer. And funny enough, a lot of sellers don't mind. Once you explain it to them, they don't really mind. They prefer to have someone being paid to bring them a buying customer, a qualified customer that can expedite the sale of their home. So listen, if you talk to 100 real estate agents, you're probably going to have 50 telling you that the sky is falling and everything's going to change in real estate. And then the other 50 are probably going to tell you nothing is really going to change, and it's actually a good thing, and it's going to weed out all the bad apples in our industry. Which side am I on? I'm kind of in the middle. I just closed a transaction today, actually. I represented the buyer side of the transaction, and it was one of the smoothest transactions I have ever done. And in fact, this buyer received $10,000 in closing cost concession and the house appraised for more than what it was sold for. And this is just an example of the fact that when a seller is happy with the proceeds that they're going to net from the sale of their home, they don't really care how much the agent makes and how much, if they have to give, a buyer a concession to help them close and pay for closing costs, as long as it facilitates the smooth closing and sale of their home. And then on the other side, with the people who think that the sky's falling and it's gonna radically change the real estate industry, I agree with them somewhat in that there are gonna be circumstances where sellers say, you know what? Now that there's this new ruling against the NAR, guess what? I'm not paying any more than I need to pay you, my listing agent, to sell my house. So therefore, whoever's coming to buy my house, they're going to need to pay their agent out of their own pocket, and I don't care, and I'm just paying 2% or 2.5%, and that's the end of it. And there are going to be some situations where buyer's agents are going to need to show their value. Their value proposition to their buyers is going to need to be robust enough where their buyers agree to pay them. And the other scenario is in the case of maybe like a veteran, right? In a VA loan, as of right now, veterans are not allowed to pay commissions to a buyer's agent, right? So, that type of loan, which is near and dear to my heart, by the way. I mean, when I deal with a veteran buying their first home or whichever home, I tend to roll out the red carpet. And how much I make on the transaction is really secondary to making sure that veteran becomes a homeowner. But, I think things are going to change in terms of how the banks handle this aspect of a real estate transaction. They might do it the same way they do a lot of other fees in real estate, where it's on the back end, right? Right now, the upfront cost of MIP, mortgage insurance premium, is financed into the loan. So I think something similar is going to happen with banks, where they figure out a way where if a buyer can't afford to pay real estate fees or real estate brokerage fees, that it somehow gets financed into the loan amount.
This is the largest investment you're ever going to make. We have never had a problem, whether it's something, Drew represented us in most of our purchases and sales, but also we work with other real estate professionals who I am okay to pay a full rate to somebody who's doing the work. I think discount brokers kind of came in years and years ago, and you didn't see that take over the whole market. You still saw people paying larger commissions if they had a relationship that was worth it.
Most buyers they're not thinking about that $15,000 or $20,000 that they might have to pay a real estate agent for first-time home buyers. Is that a concern for you?
That's going to be a huge concern. That's going to make it more difficult for a lot of people. And so bundling those fees into the purchase price actually made it more manageable, which is one thing that I have a real hard time with, because real estate, the idea of getting into real estate for a first-time buyer is already so difficult in this country. It's so expensive to get in home, especially in a large metropolis city. And so any of those barriers that you put in the way is just going to make it even harder. So we're going to start to see, I think, more creative types of financing come up, which then again, pre-2008, that's what you had a big problem with. There were all of these creative financing tools that made people over-leverage themselves, but also when there was a bust, everyone lost.
And I think, I am a real estate agent, and so I know, commission structure, and this is my business, and I never say to any professional, you should undercut the value of your business. But let's be honest, some of the transactions we do I need to have a 5 to 6% split with the other agent? No, it's a lot. But I think our duty as a real estate agent is to work for a client. Our fiduciary duty is to do what's best for the client. And regardless of commission. Yeah, regardless of commission. And is it really best for us to steer towards things that pay me more? Is it best for me to go for the highest possible commission? Not always.
Sellers aren't stupid. Sellers are really savvy. They're smart. A lot of sellers out there understand that agents are going to steer, I hate even saying it, but agents are going to steer buyers away from their home if they don't feel like they're making enough of a split or a good commission on that particular property. And as a mortgage loan officer, I get to see a lot from the other side of the industry.
Real estate, property ownership is still such a huge driver of wealth in this country. It can be for the smart investors, backed by some smart property brothers, perhaps. A really good way for families to move into the next.
It also highlights that some people are just idiots.
Well, that might be.
It really does. But I like what you're saying, though. It is a way to create generational wealth, and hopefully this is a way that people can learn from our shows and get into real estate investment as a supplemental part of their income.
But just don't be an idiot.
You don't be an idiot.
Number
one tip.
Such a good point, guys, because, man, a good real estate broker is so undervalued and underestimated in terms of the value that we bring to you as a buyer, a seller, an investor. It's invaluable, and it warms my heart, and I'm not just saying that, guys. It really is an incredible feeling to know that someone values what you did for them, the help you offered them. And that's the difference between, some agents out there who couldn't care less and a professional who is going to help you with your transaction. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you found value in this video, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm a mortgage and real estate broker, and I can help you.